Welcome to Literary Journeys with River, where faith, art, and mystery collide. Today we dive into Angels and Demons, the first book in Dan Brown's Robert Langdon saga. When a scientist is murdered at CERN, Langdon is summoned to Rome to decode a deadly Illuminati trail leading straight to the Vatican. This is an illustrated summary, not the full book. Here we'll relive every symbol, every clue, and every race against time that defined modern thrillers. If you love secret societies, puzzles, and breathtaking twists, subscribe, hit the bell, and tell us where you're watching from. Let's begin. Prologue 1. In the heart of Geneva, scientists at the Conseil Européen pour la Recherche Nucléaire, CERN, have achieved the unthinkable, generating particles of antimatter, a form of energy identical to matter but with an opposite charge. This revolutionary creation holds immense power, with energy efficiency reaching 100%, far surpassing nuclear fission. Just one drop could power all of New York City for 24 hours. But this promise of energy comes with a staggering risk. Antimatter is incredibly unstable, and contact with any substance, even air, triggers an explosion comparable to a 20-kiloton nuclear bomb, like the one dropped on Hiroshima. Until now, only trace amounts had been produced, but with the new antiproton decelerator, CERN hopes to generate it on a larger scale. Thus arises a disturbing dilemma: energy to save the world or the ultimate weapon of destruction. Prologue 2. Leonardo Vetra, a CERN physicist, finds himself in a terrifying scene as a dark figure breaks into his laboratory. The air fills with the smell of burning flesh, and the pain he feels confirms it's his own body being branded with a red-hot object. Confused and horrified, Vetra tries to understand what the intruder wants, who demands something called l'ave. Despite his pleas, he insists there is no password, but the attacker tortures him mercilessly, pressing the searing metal deeper into his chest. The scientist fights to remain conscious, convinced that his attacker will never achieve his goal. But his hope fades quickly when the stranger, with surgical precision, draws a knife and brings it close to his face. Vetra, desperate, cries for help, but the blade has already begun its path, sealing his fate in a brutal and irreversible act. Chapter 1. Robert Langdon awakens abruptly from a disturbing nightmare in which he chases a woman through the Great Pyramid of Giza, only to see her turn into an old woman and vanish. At 5 a.m, he receives a phone call from physicist Maximilian Kohler, who insists on seeing him immediately and promises generous compensation. Confused and wary, Langdon hangs up. However, the intrigue intensifies when a fax arrives showing a corpse with a symbol burned into its chest, an image Langdon instantly recognizes as the legendary Illuminati emblem. Shocked by the symbol's authenticity and its implications, Langdon decides to answer the call. The fax machine's red light still blinks. The sender is waiting on the line. With a gut feeling that something monumental is about to unfold, Langdon takes the call that will change the course of his day and his life. Chapter 2. After answering the call, Langdon hears Kohler confirm that the image he saw is real and that his help is urgently needed. Kohler explains the corpse belongs to a scientist murdered in his lab and that the mark corresponds to the Illuminati. Initially skeptical, Langdon is swayed by the detailed description of the symbol and the fact that a plane has already been dispatched to fetch him. Staring once more at the symmetrical symbol previously found only in ancient texts, Langdon feels like a paleontologist discovering a living dinosaur. Kohler's mechanical voice insists they speak in person. This cannot be discussed over the phone. With no grounds to refuse, Langdon agrees to board the plane arriving in Boston in 20 minutes. Something profound has been revealed and must be investigated. Chapter 3. In a dark, medieval chamber, two figures meet to confirm the success of the first phase of a secret plan. One is the assassin, who hands over an electronic device to his superior, a man cloaked in shadow who greets him with satisfaction. The assassin assures him there will be no doubt about who is responsible for the act, while the man congratulates him and announces that the second phase is about to begin. The assassin expresses pride in serving the Brotherhood and reaffirms his unwavering loyalty. The atmosphere is solemn and tense, as if something of historic magnitude is unfolding. The leader's final words, "Tonight we change the world," make it clear this is no isolated act, but the beginning of a series of events orchestrated by an organization long hidden in the shadows and now poised to emerge with force. Chapter 4. Robert Langdon arrives at Logan Airport in Boston, confused and unsure of what to expect. A pilot with an indiscernible accent greets him warmly and escorts him to the aircraft. Langdon is astonished at the sight. A futuristic wedge-shaped prototype with no windows and tiny wings. The pilot explains it's a Boeing X-33, a high-speed aircraft flying at Mach 15, powered by liquid hydrogen. During the flight, Langdon feels uneasy due to the claustrophobia and lack of windows. Though he's amazed by the technological feat despite his discomfort, he answers the onboard phone and learns he's not heading to Geneva, New York, as he thought, but Geneva, Switzerland. Stunned by the rapid journey and the unexpected destination, Langdon realizes he's about to experience something far beyond the ordinary. Chapter 5. As he walks through a European city, the assassin reflects on the recent days that changed his life. He recalls a call from a mysterious man who introduced himself as Janus and spoke of a legendary brotherhood reborn. Initially skeptical, the assassin became convinced after seeing undeniable proof of their power in the news. Since then, he has become a devoted servant of the brotherhood. He feels pride in his lineage and connection to the ancient assassin, warriors who combined lethal skills with hashish-induced altered states. Unlike his ancestors, he has traded drugs for rigorous physical discipline and a different hedonistic appetite. Convinced he is part of a momentous plan, he prepares to carry out his mission. The Brotherhood has emerged from the shadows, and he is the chosen instrument to execute its will with deadly precision. Chapter 6. Langdon lands in Geneva, disoriented after crossing 6 time zones at supersonic speed. A cool breeze greets him as he exits the X-33, and the Swiss mountain landscape feels like a dream. In a black sedan driven by the same pilot, he speeds toward the CERN laboratory. The driver, talkative, describes the technological city that functions like a mini metropolis and mentions the largest machine on Earth, buried 6 stories underground. Langdon is amazed by CERN's ultramodern design and futuristic atmosphere. Upon reaching the glass building known as the Crystal Cathedral, he meets Maximilian Kohler, CERN's director, seated in a motorized wheelchair. The feeling of being in a surreal dream deepens. Langdon has entered a world where science, secrets, and power are dangerously entwined. Chapter 7. Langdon is awestruck as he enters CERN's main lobby, a futuristic blend of glass and marble with a sterile air. Kohler, cold and direct, guides him with military efficiency through corridors bustling with scientists. Langdon notices that Kohler's wheelchair is outfitted with electronic devices, like a mobile command center. Upon mentioning the Illuminati symbol, Kohler tells him to wait. He will show him the body. As they proceed, Langdon sees a plaque stating that CERN was the birthplace of the Internet. Kohler scoffs at the credit the US receives and asserts that science surpasses any global network. He claims that miracles happen there daily, unsettling Langdon. They approach the location of the body, amid a deafening hum coming from the free-fall tube. Chapter 8. Leaving the main complex, Langdon and Kohler cross a campus resembling an elite university, with trees, residences, and students playing frisbee. Kohler explains that CERN employs over 3,000 physicists from 60 nations, all communicating in English. Many are pursuing the unified field theory, the famed theory of everything. Langdon admits he knows little about particle physics, so Kohler gives a brief lesson. They study the tiniest core of the atom. Their dialogue turns philosophical when Kohler claims science is replacing religion as the primary source of answers. They pass Nobel laureate Georges Charpak and reach Building C, a conservatively designed structure. A joke about an ionic column shows that even scientists have a sense of humor, or so it seems. Finally, Kohler reveals that the body they're about to see belongs to Leonardo Vetra, one of CERN's brightest physicists and the father of his colleague Vittoria. Chapter 9. Langdon enters Leonardo Vetra's apartment and finds a freezing environment, deliberately chilled to preserve the body. A white mist covers the furniture, and on the floor lies the scientist's nude corpse, head twisted back, lying in a puddle of frozen urine. The most shocking detail is the perfectly symmetrical brand on his chest, an ambigram reading Illuminati. Kohler seeks answers from Langdon, who, still in shock, confirms the symbol's authenticity. Long considered a myth, seeing it in reality leaves him speechless. Kohler reveals he found Langdon's website and trusts his academic credentials. As the cold room remains silent, Langdon begins to explain the ancient brotherhood, whose hidden history connects science, religion, persecution, and a vengeance that now seems terrifyingly awakened. Chapter 10. The assassin walks a dark, empty street, recalling Janice's last words. The second phase of the plan is about to begin. Despite a sleepless night following a murder, he feels no fatigue. His warrior heritage drives him forward. Arriving at an inconspicuous house, a sophisticated woman greets him and offers a photo album of women to choose from. The assassin, unlike his drug-using ancestors, has replaced that addiction with a more physical one: carnal pleasure. He browses the images with delight, selects a woman, and is taken to a luxurious room. There, his reward awaits: a naked woman bound to a bed, just as he requested. He approaches her with restrained desire, proud of his role in the Brotherhood. After spilling blood, it's time to enjoy his tribute, knowing that the true chaos is only beginning. Chapter 11. Langdon attempts to explain the history of the Illuminati to Kohler, emphasizing that they weren't Satanists in the modern sense but scientists persecuted by the church who hid their knowledge within Masonic lodges. He describes how the Illuminati infiltrated Freemasonry, spreading their global influence with the goal of establishing a new world order based on science, which they called the Luciferian doctrine. Kohler, shaken by Vetra's death, demands that Langdon help find those responsible. Langdon insists it's unlikely the Illuminati are still active, though he acknowledges that their symbol has been adopted by other groups. Kohler reveals that Vetra's body bears a clear mark of the Brotherhood and was also mutilated. One eye is missing. When Langdon confirms this, he is horrified. Kohler leads him to the murdered scientist's study, where Langdon is surprised to find a space where religious and scientific symbols coexist, discovering that Vetra was also a priest. Chapter 12. Elsewhere, a security guard reviews surveillance footage from the complex. Just as his shift is ending, an image on one of the screens catches his attention. Freezing the frame, he notices the scene doesn't match the corridor assigned to that camera. Alarmed, he checks the number. It's camera 86, which the system says should be elsewhere. Nervously, he contacts a technician who confirms the camera was removed from its location. However, it's still transmitting, meaning it must be somewhere within the facility. This revelation deeply unsettles him. The image shows an unknown object, with a modern look and an ominous blinking light, causing the technician to break into a sweat. Though it doesn't appear dangerous due to its size, he knows that today, more than ever, the complex's security is paramount. He picks up the phone to contact his superior, aware that something serious is about to unfold. Chapter 13. Langdon explores Vetra's study in awe, where Christian symbols and scientific elements coexist in harmony. He's baffled by the combination of crucifixes, orbiting planets, Einstein quotes, and atomic models. Kohler reveals that Vetra was both a priest and a physicist, a believer in science as a means to prove God's existence. Langdon, raised in an academic religious environment, is stunned by the idea that science and faith could coexist. Kohler explains that Vetra founded a field called New Physics, convinced that scientific principles revealed God's handwriting. Vetra, at the forefront of major particle physics breakthroughs, believed everything in the universe was connected. Kohler, worried about the impact of Vetra's secret experiment, suggests it may have been the motive for his murder. Before they go meet Vittoria, Kohler also reveals that something was stolen, an unknown object that may be tied to the crime. Chapter 14. Langdon and Kohler head to the helipad to greet Vittoria Vetra, the daughter of the murdered scientist. Langdon insists the Illuminati aren't responsible for the murder, citing the mutilation as inconsistent with the Brotherhood's methodical style. Kohler, however, claims the stolen eye has a higher purpose. The helicopter arrives, and Langdon is surprised to see Vittoria, a strong, attractive woman, very different from the scientist he imagined. Kohler praises her discipline and work with dangerous ecological systems. Though visibly emotional, Vittoria walks with determination, showing resilience. She introduces herself to Langdon, assuming he's with Interpol. Kohler initially hides the truth about her father's death, and when Vittoria learns that no one at CERN knows about the murder, she is upset. Kohler insists they must access the secret lab where she and her father worked, believing the key to the crime lies within. Chapter 15. Vittoria, Langdon, and Kohler head toward the elevator leading to the underground lab. Langdon, observing Vittoria, notices her steady breathing, evidence of yoga practice, and her way of processing grief. He recalls the death of his own father as a child, and how his innocence was shattered that day. The elevator descends into CERN's underground levels, toward the LHC, the massive particle accelerator. Langdon, claustrophobic, struggles to stay calm. Kohler explains the tunnel is a 27-kilometer ring buried underground, where particles collide at extreme speeds. Langdon is stunned to learn thousands of tons of Earth were displaced for the project. The tunnel lights up automatically as they pass, creating an eerie atmosphere. As they near the lab, Langdon feels the weight of the world on his shoulders and a growing sense that what they're about to discover will change his understanding of the universe. Chapter 16. A CERN technician investigates the disappearance of camera 86. After consulting a colleague, he confirms the camera was removed, but oddly, it's still transmitting. This is only possible if it remains somewhere within CERN. The image it sends doesn't match its assigned location but shows an unfamiliar object with a blinking screen. Though trained to stay calm, the technician begins to sweat. He knows today's security is more crucial than ever due to a significant event. Watching the object, he's filled with a dark intuition. The fact that it's transmitting from an unidentified location suggests someone with access moved it deliberately. Though it looks harmless in size, the technician realizes its presence is a threat. He decides to alert his superior, aware that this could be the beginning of a catastrophe. Chapter 17. Vittoria remembers the rainy day she met Leonardo Vetra, a young priest who didn't scold her for standing in the rain but lay down beside her and talked about gravity. That encounter began a relationship that changed her life. Vetra adopted her and became her mentor, teaching her to view the world through both science and spirituality. Years later, they moved to Switzerland and he joined CERN. Now, walking through the LHC tunnel, Vittoria feels the void left by his absence. The complex, once her home, now feels foreign. The lab, secured by a retinal scanner, allowed access only to her and her father, suggesting the killer used the stolen eye to enter. Langdon and Kohler sense a major revelation is near. Vittoria, forcing composure, prepares to reveal the discovery her father hoped to share with the world. Chapter 18. The assassin lies beside a woman he has used as a slave, a symbol of his disdain for Western women, whom he sees as inferior. Though sexually satisfied, his addiction to killing resurfaces. He restrains his murderous urge for now. He has a greater mission. He reveres Janus, the Brotherhood's leader who chose him for this ancient cause. Janus' teachings gave meaning to his brutality, transforming him into the angel of truth, both executioner and messenger. He knows his final goal appears suicidal to others. But thanks to Janus' shared secrets, he knows of an old tunnel that will let him infiltrate his enemy's fortress. As he descends the passage, cloaked in shadows and dressed to blend in, he counts down in Arabic. He prepares to unleash Phase 2 of the plan, confident the enemy will never see him coming. Chapter 19. Vetra's lab stuns Langdon with its sterile, futuristic appearance. At the center, a dozen columns support glass cylinders that seem empty, but hold a secret that could rewrite scientific history. After a moment of reflection, Vittoria explains the secret project. Her father recreated the Big Bang on a small scale, generating matter from nothing. The goal was to prove that science and religion could converge, explaining Genesis through scientific principles. Kohler is skeptical, but she insists the containers hold a never-before-seen substance. Finally, she reveals the truth. The cylinders contain antimatter, an opposite, invisible, and extremely volatile form of matter. Kohler is stunned, realizing its devastating potential. Vittoria says antimatter, like its counterpart, was created in the lab, proving the universe can emerge from pure energy. Langdon realizes they're facing something that could disrupt global balance. Chapter 20. Wearing a ceremonial robe, the assassin enters a hidden tunnel, torch in hand, more for intimidation than necessity. He knows fear is a powerful weapon, capable of paralyzing more than any blade. As he advances, he delights in the chance to complete a mission deemed impossible, infiltrating his enemy's fortress. But he's not alone. Janice provided privileged information, including access to this ancient tunnel, now crucial to the plan. He is fully confident, knowing someone inside has paved the way. The conspiracy fills him with pride. What he's about to do will make him a legend. As he nears the end of the passage, he counts down in Arabic, ready to act. The darkness surrounding him becomes an accomplice in his silent advance. Phase 2 of the plan has begun, and nothing will stop the Angel of Truth. Chapter 21. In the CERN lab, Vittoria Vetra begins to explain to Robert Langdon the existence and nature of antimatter, a real scientific substance that is the exact opposite of matter, with inverted charges and immense energy potential. Through a technical yet passionate presentation, she shows him a special container where the antimatter floats suspended between crossed magnetic fields, completely isolated from contact with matter. Initially skeptical, Kohler is amazed when he sees that Vittoria and her father managed to produce 5,000 nanograms of visible liquid antimatter. Langdon watches in awe as the floating drop, reminiscent of mercury, gently spins in the vacuum. Vittoria explains that antimatter is highly unstable. Any contact with matter causes instant annihilation, releasing photons or pure light. Finally, she reveals she designed the capsules herself, inspired by jellyfish, to safely store this dangerous but revolutionary scientific breakthrough. Chapter 22. Kohler panics when Vittoria attempts to disconnect the antimatter trap from its platform, fearing a catastrophe. She calms him, explaining that the capsules have a backup battery that keeps the magnetic fields active for 24 hours outside the lab. When disconnected, a beep triggers a countdown on a digital screen. Vittoria leads Kohler and Langdon to a metal chamber known as the Annihilation Tank, where she demonstrates how a magnetic field can be deactivated to make antimatter collide with matter. Before their eyes, she releases a minuscule amount, and the resulting blast produces a blinding light that shakes the room and makes the container vanish without a trace. Langdon is overwhelmed. Kohler, still in shock, begins to grasp the true destructive power of this technology. Calmly, Vittoria explains her father used this system to study Big Bang physics, recreating the universe's origin from pure energy. Chapter 23. After the stunning demonstration, Vittoria demands to see her father. Instead, Kohler confronts her for hiding the discovery from CERN, fearing they wanted to avoid commercial exploitation. She argues their aim was to ensure safe, responsible development. During the tense exchange, the question arises whether another specimen exists. Vittoria admits to a larger sample stored in the hazardous materials chamber beneath the lab. Kohler is horrified to learn this and insists on seeing it immediately. She explains it was needed to prove the energy viability of antimatter. As they descend, she reveals the container holds a 1/4 gram, equivalent to nearly 5 kilotons of energy. When they arrive, they find the retinal scanner stained with blood. As Vittoria approaches, she is horrified to find her father's eye on the floor, used to gain access. In shock, she realizes the specimen has been stolen and the countdown has already begun. Chapter 24. A commander watches a security monitor and is stunned by an unusual image. A small transparent container with a floating drop of antimatter inside, accompanied by a blinking countdown. Speechless, he spots an acronym on the base of the container and grows grim. He orders his technician to stay put and vows to handle the situation personally. The scene suggests that the antimatter has been taken out of CERN, and someone with power and influence has been alerted. The silence surrounding the container, coupled with its deadly potential, heightens the tension. The stakes are clear. An invisible, undetectable bomb is now in circulation, and only hours remain before it detonates. Someone must act, and quickly. Chapter 25. Vittoria stumbles into the hazardous materials chamber, still in shock from discovering her father's eye on the floor. Guided by Langdon and followed by Kohler, she faces a devastating void. The recharge platform is empty and the container is gone. Horror turns to guilt. She was the one who persuaded her father to create that antimatter sample. She knows that once removed from its base, the capsule has only 24 hours before it self-destructs. With dread, Vittoria realizes they've stolen the perfect terrorist weapon. Invisible, undetectable, and with no fuse to disable. Kohler tells Langdon he suspects the Illuminati, despite Langdon's doubts. Langdon tries to offer other theories like industrial espionage, but the evidence points to an imminent, devastating threat. The container is in motion, like a runaway train, and every passing second brings the world closer to disaster. Chapter 26. Deep within an ancient stone tunnel, the assassin waits with a lit torch, surrounded by damp air and the scent of the past. The iron door before him seems from another era but remains strong. He knows someone inside will open it. The surrounding silence is absolute, and the weight of his mission hangs heavily in the stale air. At the appointed time, he hears the metallic clink of locks from the other side. One by one, the heavy bolts slide back with creaks that sound like time itself opening. Silence returns. Following his superior's instructions, the assassin waits 5 minutes before moving. At last, he pushes the door open and enters. His presence marks the start of a carefully planned threat. Someone inside has betrayed, and the alliance between knowledge and darkness is already in motion. Chapter 27. While ascending in a freight elevator, Kohler and Vittoria argue intensely about CERN's responsibility in creating antimatter. Kohler insists on protecting the center's reputation, while Vittoria accuses him of downplaying the gravity of the theft. The exchange exposes the ethical tensions surrounding scientific advancement. Once on the surface, Vittoria demands to know who killed her father. Trying to defuse the situation, Kohler reveals they have a suspect, the Illuminati. Shocked, Vittoria mistakes Langdon for a secret agent, but learns he's a professor of religious symbology. Still, the revelation is overwhelming. Kohler shows her a fax with the image of her father's branded chest and assures her the Illuminati have claimed responsibility. Disoriented, Vittoria feels the world has lost all logic. The antimatter is in unknown hands, and its creation, meant to inspire hope, has become a weapon. Chapter 28. Sylvie Baudeloque, Kohler's secretary, paces nervously outside his empty office. Everything has been strange since morning, when Kohler left to meet Leonardo Vetra and never returned in time for his daily injection. When she receives an urgent call from the switchboard, she's stunned by the caller's identity. She tries to reach Kohler through every means, but his phone has no signal and his pager goes unanswered. Unable to sit idly by, she makes a bold decision. She opens a secret metal box in the director's office and activates the emergency communication system. With a trembling voice, she broadcasts over the intercom, "Maximilian Kohler, please call your office immediately." She knows this may enrage her boss, but the weight of uncertainty and the urgency of the situation compel her to act without hesitation. Chapter 29. While ascending in the elevator, Vittoria enters a deep emotional state, reliving a childhood memory with her father. She sees herself rolling through alpine flowers, laughing, as he gently teaches her physics disguised as play. The moment shatters as she returns to the present, crushed by the reality of his loss. Kohler, pale and struggling to breathe, receives an emergency call. Alarms on his electronic wheelchair activate simultaneously, indicating he's finally back in a signal zone. Stunned, he listens to the voice on the other end and responds urgently. He's ordered to head to Leonardo da Vinci Airport in Rome. As paramedics assist him, Kohler whispers the word Rome before being taken away. Langdon understands. The container is there. Everything falls into place. The antimatter stolen from CERN is now in the Eternal City. Rome is the new epicenter of a threat that could alter the fate of the world. Chapter 30. Langdon, Vittoria, and Kohler emerge from the elevator just as Sylvie's voice echoes through the loudspeakers, requesting the director to call his office. Kohler's wheelchair begins beeping and buzzing with missed alerts. When he finally connects, the call visibly rattles him. He orders to be picked up at Leonardo da Vinci Airport in 40 minutes, barely able to speak between coughs. Vittoria calls the hospital while paramedics assist him. Before leaving, Kohler grabs Langdon's arm and whispers, "Rome." Langdon understands completely. The container is there. The puzzle pieces fall into place, and his skepticism vanishes. When Vittoria asks about the guard, he reveals it refers to the Swiss Guard, protectors of the Vatican. Rome is now the stage of the conflict. The antimatter is inside the walls of Vatican City, and the clock is ticking. Science, faith, and history are about to collide. Chapter 31. During the flight to Rome aboard the X-33 spacecraft, Robert Langdon reflects on his unexpected involvement in a conspiracy involving the Illuminati and the Vatican. Though his academic instincts urge him to return home, his moral compass and passion for art compel him to continue. He worries deeply about the safety of the Vatican's artistic treasures in light of the stolen antimatter threat. In an intimate dialogue with Vittoria Vetra, they share their views on God, religion, and faith, revealing personal connections to their scientific and spiritual paths. Langdon admits his skepticism, while Vittoria defends a more integrated, symbiotic view of the universe. The conversation delves into the cultural origins of religion and the idea of a God that transcends traditional forms. The chapter concludes with an analysis of hidden Illuminati symbols on the US dollar bill. Chapter 32. Langdon and Vittoria arrive at Leonardo da Vinci Airport to find Rome bathed in the golden light of sunset. While Langdon is uncomfortable with the heat, Vittoria senses mystical energy in the air. They are greeted by a Vatican helicopter piloted by a member of the Swiss Guard, dressed in their traditional, flamboyant uniforms designed by Michelangelo. Despite the extravagant attire, the pilot is professional. Vittoria faces dress code restrictions due to her attire not covering her legs above the knee, causing friction with religious protocol. Langdon also undergoes a strict inspection. Upon boarding the helicopter, they ask about the antimatter container, but the pilot is completely unaware of the situation. As the helicopter lifts off toward the Vatican, both protagonists feel the weight of their mission intensify, with time slipping away and the threat still unchecked. Chapter 33. From the sky, Langdon and Vittoria observe a chaotic and majestic Rome as the helicopter glides over historic landmarks like the Colosseum and the Roman Forum. In the distance, the dome of St. Peter's Basilica rises from the mist, gleaming in the sun. Langdon is awestruck by the grandeur of St. Peter's and its square, recalling that St. Peter was crucified there and now lies buried beneath the dome. The pilot announces their arrival in Vatican City, and the protagonists notice something strange. Press trucks from around the world have gathered in the square. The pilot reveals that the conclave, the sacred process to elect a new pope, is about to begin, following the previous pope's death 15 days earlier. Langdon, stunned, realizes the gravity of the moment. The entire structure of Catholic power is gathered right above a hidden bomb, with no one suspecting the looming threat. Chapter 34. Cardinal Mortati oversees the conclave preparations inside the Sistine Chapel, immersed in ceremonial darkness lit only by candles. The presence of cardinals from around the world creates a buzz of whispers, speculation, and tension. As the senior cardinal and supervisor of the process, Mortati faces a troubling situation. The 4 most favored papal candidates are missing. Their absence sparks concern among the others. Although all Vatican exits are tightly secured, their disappearance remains a disturbing mystery with just 1 hour until the ceremony begins. Mortati has already alerted the Swiss Guard but has yet to receive any answers. Deep down, he fears this conclave won't be brief or joyful, but may become one of the darkest and most troubling in recent church history. Chapter 35. After landing on the Vatican helipad, Langdon and Vittoria are driven in an electric cart through the fortified interior of Vatican City. They pass key sites like Vatican Radio, the Tribunal Palace, and the stunning Vatican Gardens. Vittoria senses an eerie silence, a result of the city's complete lockdown for the conclave. Only the cardinals and the Swiss Guard remain inside. Langdon is fascinated by views of the Vatican museums, the rear of St. Peter's Basilica, and the Tribunal Palace's grand Baroque design. Finally, they arrive at the Swiss Guard headquarters, where two imposing guards reluctantly let them in. Inside, they descend a staircase decorated with mutilated Renaissance sculptures, victims of Pope Pius IX's great castration. At the bottom, they reach a steel door leading to a high-tech operations room. Chapter 36. Langdon and Vittoria enter the Vatican Security Center, where Renaissance aesthetics blend with state-of-the-art equipment. Commander Olivetti greets them coldly, skeptical, and preoccupied. Vittoria reveals the seriousness of the situation, showing a live feed of the antimatter container floating in darkness. Though the danger is obvious, Olivetti remains doubtful. He denies launching a search and downplays antimatter's destructive potential, relying on his experience with conventional explosives. Tensions rise as Vittoria urges evacuation or at least a search for the container, but Olivetti refuses to act without more information. Langdon attempts to reason with him about the Illuminati, but the commander dismisses the idea of an ancient sect using modern science to attack the church. The tension builds, and time continues slipping away without action. Chapter 37. Langdon and Vittoria are locked in Olivetti's office after his refusal to take action. While a guard watches them through the glass, Vittoria calmly assesses the situation and decides to act. She identifies the commander's phone console as their escape route and guesses line 1 leads to the Pope's office. Instead, she reaches the Swiss Guard's cafeteria menu, angering the guard. Langdon tries to defuse the tension, but Vittoria stands firm. She then calls the Camerlengo directly, convinced he's the only one with enough authority to intervene. Her bold move pays off. The operator, surprised to hear a woman inside the Vatican at this hour, contacts the commander. As Olivetti returns, enraged, he receives a direct order from the Camerlengo demanding to speak with Vittoria immediately. Her plan has worked. Chapter 38. The Vatican switchboard operator, stunned to receive an internal call from a woman during conclave night, decides to forward the call to Commander Olivetti. Discovering it's a direct request to speak with the Camerlengo, the operator makes a bold choice and contacts him. Upon hearing the reason, the Camerlengo responds firmly and demands an immediate meeting with the callers. Olivetti, annoyed, is forced to comply. He quickly heads to the Pope's office, where Camerlengo Carlo Ventresca greets them. Langdon and Vittoria explain the threat, showing the image of Leonardo Vetra's corpse and the Illuminati brand. The young, serene, deeply spiritual Camerlengo listens attentively. Despite initial skepticism, he is struck by the symbolism and the real possibility of danger. Recognizing the seriousness of the matter, he decides to take action, defying Olivetti's resistance and stepping into leadership. Chapter 39. Langdon and Vittoria are escorted to the Pope's office, where they meet the young and charismatic Camerlengo Carlo Ventresca. The room's grandeur contrasts with the tense atmosphere. Despite his youth, the Camerlengo radiates authority and calm, proving more receptive than Olivetti. He listens intently to the details of Leonardo Vetra's murder, examines the Illuminati brand, and is moved to learn the victim was both a priest and a scientist. Langdon explains the symbol symmetry and the ancient Illuminati pact to destroy the Vatican. Though skeptical, the Camerlengo acknowledges that such a specific threat can't be ignored. Olivetti continues to claim it's all fabricated, but the accumulating evidence and the antimatter's presence prompt real concern. The Camerlengo takes command, demanding immediate answers as midnight approaches. Chapter 40. The conversation in the Camerlengo's office reaches a breaking point. Despite Olivetti's insistence that finding a stolen camera is impossible, Vittoria defends the gravity of the situation, stressing the catastrophic potential of antimatter. Tensions escalate when a guard reports receiving an anonymous call mentioning antimatter, proving someone else knows. The guard, after his own online research, confirms the substance has a destructive capacity greater than a nuclear warhead. This revelation deeply shakes both the Camerlengo and Olivetti, who now grasps the magnitude of the threat. To make matters worse, the caller remains on the line, demanding to speak with the Camerlengo. The priest takes control, ordering the call be transferred immediately. As contact is made with the enemy, The clock continues ticking, and the bomb remains. Chapter 41. A phone call breaks the tension in the papal office. A metallic voice introduces itself as the Illuminati messenger, revealing that they have kidnapped the four preferiti, the cardinals favored to become pope. Langdon confirms his suspicions about the Illuminati's infiltration of the Vatican, while the Camerlengo and Olivetti try to maintain control. The messenger threatens to kill one cardinal every hour from 8 until midnight, turning the murders into a media spectacle. Langdon mentions the 1678 purge, when the church killed Illuminati scientists, and the caller vows to reenact history, this time publicly and symbolically. He declares the murders will take place in churches, mocking Vatican security. The Camerlengo attempts to negotiate, but the caller mocks him and references the church's financial decline, valuing the Vatican at $48 billion. He ends by taunting Vittoria with details about her father's death, triggering her rage before hanging up. Chapter 42. Cardinal Mortati, sweating in the stifling Sistine Chapel, watches anxiously as the conclave nears with no word on the four preferiti. Tension rises among the cardinals, who begin to whisper about their disappearance. Mortati recalls that the Camerlengo met with them earlier that day, but now there's no trace of any of them. Without their presence, they cannot be elected. Among them, Cardinal Baggia is considered the frontrunner for his multilingual skills and spiritual nature. Mortati, acting as Grand Elector, feels the weight of his responsibility. Though 79, he's more respected for his liturgical knowledge than as a papal candidate. He admires the Camerlengo, despite others' criticism of his youth, and believes his devotion stems from a childhood miracle. When a cardinal demands answers, Mortati can only ask for faith and patience as the conclave approaches. Chapter 43. After the alarming phone threat, the Camerlengo debates whether to evacuate the conclave or lock it down. Langdon looks out at the square, aware of the danger posed by the antimatter. Olivetti insists on keeping the cardinals inside, suggesting isolating the conclave to buy time. Though hesitant to trap the College of Cardinals above a bomb, the Camerlengo hears Olivetti's argument that the Sistine Chapel is among the most secure buildings, already inspected earlier that day. Vittoria warns that if the antimatter is near the perimeter, the entire city of Rome would be affected. The only way to find it is to cut the power and trace its magnetic field. Olivetti proposes the plan and claims he can mobilize 100 men. Pressured, the Camerlengo agrees to lie to the cardinals, saying the preferiti are ill. Olivetti refuses external help, fearing media leaks. In helplessness, he recites St. Francis's prayer, entrusting the missing cardinals to fate. Chapter 44. In London, a young BBC editor receives an anonymous call from a man with an Arabic accent claiming to have explosive news about the papal election. Though initially skeptical, the caller's refusal to identify himself or beg for attention sparks her curiosity. True informants behave that way. She checks the system for the Rome correspondence number. Discovering it's a rookie assigned to a supposedly dull story, she takes the risk and gives the caller the contact. He thanks her and hangs up. The editor lights another cigarette, unaware of the magnitude of the information just passed, and that she has triggered the global press's involvement in the Vatican crisis. Chapter 45. Vittoria insists they act immediately, pointing out the growing crowd in the square. The Camerlengo, overwhelmed, hesitates while Olivetti focuses on internal search and containment. Langdon, struck by inspiration, proposes accessing the Vatican archives. Believing a historical document there reveals the locations of the altars of science, tied to the murders. He asks to search for an old manuscript that marks the path. The Camerlengo is doubtful, but Langdon invokes his authority as acting papal representative. Convinced by the urgency, the priest grants special access and orders a Swiss guard escort. Langdon and Vittoria head to the archives, time running short. Langdon recalls the legend of the Path of Illumination, convinced the clues to the crime scenes are hidden in the Vatican's ancient texts. Chapter 46. Langdon and Vittoria cross the Vatican en route to the secret archives. Langdon shares his theory. The Illuminati hid a secret path in Rome called the Path of Illumination, used to guide new members to their sanctuary, the Church of Illumination. This path included symbolic sculptures in key churches, each representing an element: earth, air, fire, and water. These pieces formed a chain of clues hidden in plain sight, camouflaged within religious art. Langdon believes the murders will follow the same path. The assassin mentioned the altars of science, an old Illuminati term for those churches. Langdon suggests identifying the original locations to anticipate the killings. Vittoria is struck by the logic. She knows the Illuminati aim to expose their secrets and showcase their power to the world. With each cardinal representing an element, the 4 symbolic deaths will deliver an apocalyptic message. Chapter 47. Camerlengo Ventresca walks slowly through the Vatican before the conclave, seeking calm. He reflects on the burden of organizing the Pope's funeral and the election process. As he walks, he recalls his childhood, surviving a terrorist attack in a church that killed his mother. Adopted by a bishop, he was raised among priests. From a young age, he felt destined for a divine mission. At 18, he joined the army before taking his vows, wanting to understand human evil. He became a helicopter pilot, finding peace in the skies before entering the seminary. Now, with the church's future at stake, he feels at the heart of a divine calling. Arriving at the Sistine Chapel, he makes the sign of the cross and enters with determination. History's weight is upon him. The church's fate rests on his faith. Chapter 48. Gunther Glick, a BBC reporter, sits frustrated in a van parked in St. Peter's Square, bored by what he sees as a dull assignment. He laments his career, while his sharp-witted camerawoman, Chinita Macri, teases him. Then comes the call that changes everything. A mysterious man with an Arabic accent claims to have explosive information about the conclave. Glick responds professionally but is stunned by the caller's seriousness. He promises to change Glick's life. The call, from the same anonymous source that contacted London, sets the stage for the press's involvement in the conspiracy. Glick, until now an unmotivated reporter, sees the opportunity of a lifetime. Macri, though skeptical, senses the shift in energy. Neither realizes they are about to cover one of the most shocking revelations in church and modern journalism history. Chapter 49. Langdon and Vittoria finally enter the Vatican secret archives. Far from dusty and forgotten, the facility is equipped with advanced preservation tech, airtight chambers, and thematic labels instead of alphabetical order. Though impressed, Langdon quickly begins searching for the Diagramma della Verita, a secret manuscript by Galileo. He believes the segno, the sign marking the path of illumination, is in it. Vittoria helps search while they discuss how Galileo hid information through symbolic codes and pure mathematical language. Langdon explains that the number 503 refers to DIII, an ancient abbreviation for diagramma. The challenge is that the document, written on fragile papyrus, was almost entirely destroyed. The only known surviving copy was confiscated by the Vatican. They have only 20 minutes of oxygen to find it. Chapter 50. Langdon finds the chamber dedicated solely to Galileo, titled Il Processo Galileano. Thousands of documents from the Vatican's longest, most expensive trial are preserved there. He enters the airtight room with Vittoria, who struggles in the partial vacuum. Wearing gloves, they begin the search for the Diagramma della Verita, aware they have just 20 minutes before running out of air. Langdon explains that years ago he discovered the code 503, refers to DIII, initials for dialogo, discorsi, and diagramma. The third, the most hidden, contains pure mathematical clues to the path of illumination. Vittoria is skeptical of the daunting task. Finding a secret document, decoding a hidden message, and following a symbolic path lost for centuries, all in under an hour. But Langdon is convinced that Galileo's pamphlet is their only chance to prevent catastrophe. Chapter 51. Gunther Glick, BBC reporter, receives a chilling anonymous call. A mysterious informant claims that 4 cardinals have been kidnapped and will be killed that night in different churches across Rome. Though Chinita Macri remains skeptical, Glick is captivated by the informant's ruthless logic. The caller promises to reveal the location of the first murder just before it happens, asserting that the media is the perfect tool to spread chaos. Intrigued, Glick asks Macri to check the BBC database for a keyword that leaves her perplexed. As his mind races, Glick realizes he may be on the verge of the biggest story of his career. Something is stirring in the Vatican's shadows, and he might be the first to witness it. The cold, calculating informant has just made him a player in a deadly game that's only beginning. Chapter 52. Robert Langdon and Vittoria Vetra search the Vatican archives for Galileo's Diagramma della Verita. The task is difficult due to the disorganized system and lack of digital tools, but Vittoria eventually finds it stored in a box of folios. With reverence, Langdon carefully retrieves the manuscript using preservation tools. They scan page after page of the valuable document, which is in excellent condition but filled only with essays. Desperate to find a mathematical clue to the Illuminati altars, they are frustrated to find only text. Langdon, convinced that lingua pura refers to numeric language, continues searching for hidden symbols. As oxygen levels drop and anxiety rises, they refuse to give up, believing the manuscript holds the key to unraveling the deadly plan threatening Rome. Chapter 53. In the depths of Rome, the Illuminati assassin moves through a torchlit underground passage. The oppressive air and eerie silence are broken only by the anguished cries of the 4 captured cardinals, echoing off the stone walls. Locked behind rusty bars, the prelates plead for help in various languages, silenced by the assassin's cold, commanding voice. One cardinal, looking into the assassin's eyes, believes he sees hell itself. The killer checks his watch, ready to begin the bloody ritual that will mark the Brotherhood's return. As the prisoners tremble, he utters the dreaded words, "Who will be first?" The selection nears, and with it, the start of symbolic murders that will echo from the heart of Rome to the world. The time of the Illuminati has come, and the altars of science are about to be stained with blood. Chapter 54. Langdon and Vittoria, weakened by low oxygen, continue their frantic search for a mathematical clue in Galileo's manuscript. Despite their fatigue, they turn page after page, finding no clear numeric sign. Just as hope fades, Vittoria spots a tiny annotation hidden in a crease on folio 5. To their surprise, it's written in English, "The Path of Light, a secret test." Langdon is stunned by the language choice, unusual for Vatican documents. They reflect on English as lingua pura, a language free from ecclesiastical censorship. The discovery rekindles their hope. Langdon identifies the phrase as iambic pentameter, a poetic form linked to Illuminati sacred numbers. On the next page, they find a full poem signed by John Milton, spiraled on the parchment. Excitement overtakes them. They've found the first step of the path of illumination. Chapter 55. Leaving the archives, Langdon and Vittoria breathe a sigh of relief and head toward Olivetti's office with the precious folio 5. Langdon carefully stores the document, knowing he's decoded the first clue. It points to the tomb of Raphael, the Renaissance master. Vittoria is surprised to learn Raphael is buried in the Pantheon, a symbolically earthly site due to its pagan origins and architecture. The poem mentions a tomb and a demon's hole, which Langdon links to the building's oculus. Though skeptical, Vittoria accepts the logic. Time pressing, they go to report to Olivetti, but a guard blocks them. Only the commander's direct intervention lets them through. Langdon insists his discovery is valid. The path of illumination is beginning to reveal itself, and its first station lies in one of Rome's most iconic, visited churches. Chapter 56. For camouflaged Alfa Romeo vehicles carrying Swiss Guard agents speed toward the Pantheon. Frustrated and skeptical, Olivetti scolds Langdon for relying on an ancient poem to make such critical decisions. Langdon defends his interpretation, convinced Raphael's tomb is the first clue. Though the path of illumination may have been lost with the Pantheon's 19th century statue removals, there's still hope to catch the killer. Pressured by urgency, Olivetti orders his men to position themselves around the building. Vittoria quickly proposes plausible ways the assassin could strike undetected. Her logic partly convinces Olivetti, who, though hesitant, allows the operation to continue. Seconds tick away. Everything hinges on what happens inside the Pantheon. The first murder is near, A trial by fire for everyone's faith. Chapter 57. At CERN's hospital, Director Maximilian Kohler awakens and slowly regains strength after emergency treatment. Still weak, he struggles to control his body but stays mentally sharp. Realizing he's been left unguarded, he dresses with effort and returns to his wheelchair. Ignoring the motorized function, he moves silently, pushing himself. At the hallway door, he checks for staff and, without triggering alarms, begins a quiet escape from the hospital. His destination is unclear, but his determination is not. Kohler holds vital information and refuses to stay on the sidelines. The shadow of the conflict in Rome reaches him from afar, and he's heading straight toward it. The CERN director still has a role to play in the dark game threatening the Vatican. Chapter 58. Langdon and Vittoria ride to the Pantheon in an Alfa Romeo with Olivetti. The commander coldly relays instructions over the radio, labeling the cardinal as a secondary asset. Vittoria insists someone must monitor the Pantheon from inside. Initially, Olivetti rejects the idea, but she proposes going in disguised as a tourist, equipped with a cell phone for communication. Persuasive and logical, she wins him over. Olivetti agrees, on the condition Langdon accompanies her to enhance coverage. He gives them a pistol, which Vittoria cleverly hides in Langdon's jacket pocket. Posing as newlyweds, they walk toward the square hand in hand. Following Olivetti's orders, they are determined to prevent the cardinal's murder. Tension builds. Langdon feels torn between duty and fear, but there's no turning back. They are entering the heart of the deadly game. Chapter 59. In the Vatican, Captain Elias Rocher, second in command of the Swiss Guard, calmly leads a briefing for his men. With a steady voice, he outlines the seriousness of the threat: an ancient sect, kidnapped cardinals, and a possible WMD. Nicknamed the Bear, Rocher is known for his cold but lethal nature, complementing Olivetti's harshness. Silence reigns as the guards absorb the mission's gravity. Young Lieutenant Chartrand, a newcomer, is especially nervous. At first, he thought it was a drill, but the antimatter footage proved otherwise. Rocher explains the plan: controlled blackouts, use of infrared, and scanners to detect signals. The tension is palpable. Despite his lack of experience, Chartrand prepares like the rest. Rocher ends the briefing with a dramatic line: "May God be with you, boys." Chapter 60. Langdon and Vittoria approach the Pantheon hand in hand, pretending to be newlyweds. Langdon, still reeling from the pace of events, tries to remain composed while carrying a hidden pistol. Seeing the temple's imposing facade, he recalls the poem, "From the earthly tomb of Saint, in the demon's hole." Tourists stroll casually around them, and 4 police officers guard the entrance. The sight appears calm, but tension mounts. Langdon confirms they're in the right place. Raphael's tomb is inside. With 10 minutes until the scheduled murder, they wonder if they're ready for what lies ahead. Vittoria jokes about their fake marriage, but both know the danger is real. They're about to enter the Pantheon, hoping to stop the assassin before the first cardinal is killed. The countdown has begun, and each second feels like a sentence. Chapter 61. Langdon and Vittoria arrive at the Pantheon, misled by a misinterpretation of Galileo's poem. As they walk through the majestic building and its grand dome, they examine the niches for signs of the Illuminati. Langdon recalls a class on Christian and pagan symbolism, highlighting the sun cult's influence on religion. During their search, an enthusiastic guide interrupts them. Vittoria finds Raphael's tomb, but reading the inscription, she learns he was moved to the Pantheon in 1758, over a century after the diagramma's publication. This invalidates their theory. The altar of science can't be there. They ask the guide about another tomb linked to Raphael, and he mentions the Chigi Chapel designed by the artist. The key clue comes when the guide notes the chapel was also called the Cappella della Terra, which fits the clue. Wasting no time, Vittoria calls Olivetti, and they head to Santa Maria del Popolo. Chapter 62. Vittoria and Langdon debate the mistake in Raphael's tomb chronology. She points out that when the poem was written, Raphael wasn't yet buried in the Pantheon. They then realize the earthly tomb of Santi refers to a work designed by Raphael, not his resting place. The guide mentions the Chigi Chapel, built by Raphael and adorned with strange funerary sculptures, including pyramids, which immediately intrigue Langdon. The mention of an underground crypt or buco diavolo reinforces the clue. A burial pit beneath a tomb could be the demon's hole. The guide also says the chapel was once known as Cappella della Terra, tying it to the earth element. When Vittoria confirms its location at Santa Maria del Popolo, she calls Olivetti again to redirect the Swiss guard. With Langdon, she rushes off, hoping to reach the altar before the killer does. Chapter 63. Gunther Glick, a BBC reporter, investigates from a van with his colleague Chinita Macri. Using the network's database, he finds numerous historical references to the Illuminati, from Winston Churchill to Woodrow Wilson. Glick cites articles linking the Illuminati and Freemasons to infiltrations in governments and financial systems. Macri is skeptical, doubting the supposed connections between historical figures like Cecil Rhodes and Bill Clinton with the Brotherhood. Glick insists the reports are legitimate, including the existence of a video game based on the Illuminati. The anonymous call they received further convinces him that the Vatican murders are tied to the secret society. Macri, still hesitant, begins to accept the story might be real, especially after hearing the explicit threat against the Vatican. Chapter 64. Langdon and Vittoria arrive at Piazza del Popolo just before 8, and the symbologist immediately senses Enlightenment symbolism in the area. He spots the Egyptian obelisk in the square's center and recognizes a Masonic symbol, a pyramid topped with a light source, on the Porta del Popolo. They quickly identify the church, Santa Maria del Popolo, but it's closed for renovations. Without hesitation, Vittoria slips through scaffolding, with Langdon cautiously following. They find a locked side door and, circling the building, discover a hidden passage leading underground. Langdon enters first, descending a narrow tunnel like a mythological labyrinth. At the end, they find a door forced open with an iron bar. Inside, they realize they're in the church. Langdon is impressed by the structure, while Vittoria, armed and determined, prepares to locate the Chigi Chapel, where they believe the murder is about to occur. Chapter 65. Inside the dark, under-renovation church, Langdon and Vittoria search for the Chigi Chapel among 8 possible niches, all covered in plastic. A plaque bearing Agostino Chigi's coat of arms, a pyramid and a star, confirms the right direction. As they move cautiously, a rat dragging a lunchbox startles them, heightening the tension. Finally, they uncover the chapel, which is empty but stunningly decorated. A dome with stars, zodiac signs, and 2 massive pyramids with glowing elliptical medallions. Langdon immediately recognizes the Illuminati symbolism. Inspecting the floor, they find a mosaic of a skeleton holding a shield with the same star and pyramid, covering a circular opening, the demon's hole. When they lift it, a foul stench rises from the crypt. Shining a blowtorch inside, Langdon sees a figure standing. When Vittoria suggests going down, Langdon insists on doing it himself, dreading what they might find. Chapter 66. While Langdon and Vittoria search the church, Glick and Chinita Macri approach Piazza del Popolo in their van. Macri, doubtful about Glick's Illuminati theory, urges a return to the Vatican. But as they prepare to turn, for speeding Alfa Romeos almost crash into them. Glick quickly avoids a collision. They notice the cars are full and heading in the same direction. Though Macri remains skeptical, Glick suspects something big is happening at the church. He decides to follow, convinced the murder ties into the anonymous tip. Chinita, resigned, agrees. They dive into Rome streets, unaware they're about to witness a revelation that will change their journalistic careers. Chapter 67. Langdon descends into the crypt, surrounded by the stench and skulls. In the torchlight, he senses the oppressive, rotting air. At the bottom, he's horrified to find a semi-buried corpse, eyes rolled back, standing with hands bound by a red sash. Dirt in his mouth shows he died of asphyxiation. Branded on his chest is an ambigram, Earth. The image shakes him. Meanwhile, in the Sistine Chapel, Cardinal Mortati leads the conclave's first vote in the Preferidi's absence. Predictably, the cardinals vote for themselves, blocking consensus. Mortati burns the ballots, sending black smoke to inform the world no pope has been chosen. As the conclave moves forward uncertainly, in the Chigi Chapel, the Swiss guard rescues a semi-asphyxiated Langdon. Tension rises, the killer has fulfilled his first threat. Chapter 68. Still dizzy, Langdon talks with Vittoria, who confirms they found the correct altar. Observing the artwork, Langdon realizes all the interior sculptures are by Gian Lorenzo Bernini, possibly the secret Illuminati master. Vittoria suggests Bernini used his fame to embed Illuminati clues in Catholic churches. Beyond the pyramids, Langdon spots a partially hidden sculpture, Habakkuk and the Angel. The angel points firmly in one direction. The poem affirms it, "Let angels guide your quest." Langdon runs outside to determine the angel's exact pointing direction. The path of illumination, created by Bernini, is intact. Now they must find the next church southwest to try and stop the second murder. The search resumes with renewed energy and a clear lead. Chapter 69. Langdon, nearly fainting from fumes, is rescued by the Swiss guard. Olivetti bursts in angrily, demanding explanations for the earlier mistake. Langdon confirms they found the first altar. Vittoria encourages him to keep going. She reveals Bernini is the Illuminati sculptor, surprising Langdon, though the evidence is clear. A plaque credits all ornamentation to Bernini. He mapped the path of illumination. They notice a nearly hidden sculpture, Habakkuk and the Angel. The figures point in different directions, but the poem suggests following the angel. Langdon steps into the square to confirm the direction, southwest, where the next altar must be. Though he can't see the church from there, he climbs the scaffolding for a better view. In a nearby van, Chinita Macri and Glick film him, unaware of the danger closing in. Chapter 70. Langdon rushes into Piazza del Popolo and examines the direction of the angel's finger in Bernini's sculpture. It points southwest, and he needs to identify the church in that direction. His knowledge of Rome doesn't provide an immediate answer, so he climbs the scaffolding to look for a church spire. Meanwhile, Glick and Macri watch from their van. They film Langdon climbing like a well-dressed Spider-Man, realizing it might be the beginning of a major story. Energized by having found the true altar of science and the hope of saving the next cardinal, Langdon desperately searches for a visual clue from above. Glick considers calling the newsroom, while Chinita, still doubtful, records every move. Unknowingly, they are documenting a race against time, one woven with symbols, science, and death. Chapter 71. Langdon climbs scaffolding in Rome, searching for a church indicated by the angel on Santi's tomb. From above, he gazes over the sunset-lit city but can't make out any bell towers in the suggested direction. He scans the skyline again, aware that many churches might no longer be visible or have been replaced by modern structures. As he reconsiders the poem, he deduces the next Illuminati altar must lie southwest. Meanwhile, Glick and Macri film from their van as a suspicious body is removed from the church. Macri captures key footage of the corpse before soldiers load it into a trunk. At CERN, Kohler searches Leonardo Vetra's room and, forcing a drawer open with a kitchen knife, finds what he was looking for. The scene shifts between Langdon's desperate clue hunt in Rome and the killer's covert moves as his deadly plan continues. Chapter 72. Langdon climbs down and reunites with Vittoria. They agree the next altar must be southwest, but maps only show major churches. Langdon insists on following the direction. Olivetti plots a path ending at St. Peter's Square. Though not publicly accessible at the moment, a soldier mentions a strange marble slab in the pavement marked with an image of wind, the West Ponent. Langdon is thrilled, recalling that a bas-relief also counts as sculpture, and deduces this slab could be the altar of air. Confirming it's a Bernini work and linked to the wind element, he knows they've found a new clue. Everyone rushes to St. Peter's Square, unaware the BBC van is discreetly trailing them. The discovery of the bas-relief and its connection to the poem's second element marks another step along the path of illumination. Chapter 73. Glick and Macri tail the Alfa Romeo convoy headed for St. Peter's Square. In the van, Glick receives word from London, His editor is furious but interested in the corpse footage. Macri tries to upload the recording, but they can't stop yet. Upon arrival, soldiers spread out among the tourists and colonnades. Olivetti sends Langdon and Vittoria to examine the West Ponente as if they were casual visitors. As they walk the square, Langdon senses he's being watched, questioning how the killer might strike in such a public place unnoticed. The vast square, the obelisk, fountains, and precise geometry heighten his tension. Clinging to one another, Langdon and Vittoria search for the bas-relief amid the crowd. The atmosphere is thick with suspense and dread. Another murder could unfold at any moment. Chapter 74. Langdon and Vittoria reach the white marble ellipse of the West Ponente, engraved in the ground before the obelisk. The bas-relief displays an angelic face exhaling 5 gusts of air opposite the Vatican. Langdon is captivated by the symbolism, radiant stars, symmetry, and the number 5 all tied to Galileo. As he analyzes the piece, Vittoria suspects they're being followed. She spots Macri from the BBC with a camera. Trying to shake her, they walk away from the bas-relief, but when St. Peter's bells strike 9, they rush back. Though the setting appears calm, tourists, pigeons, a child at play, the mood turns. Suddenly, the girl screams, spotting something disturbing near the obelisk. Langdon remembers the killer's vow to make the cardinals media icons. The moment has come. The second murder is about to be revealed before dozens of onlookers. Chapter 75. Langdon runs toward the screaming girl and finds a man collapsed near the obelisk, covered in rags. On closer inspection, he sees fresh blood. Vittoria confirms the man is still alive, and Langdon rolls him over, revealing a chest seared with the word air. Cardinal Lamas has been branded with the second ambigram. The crowd stares in horror as Swiss guards search for the perpetrator. A tourist reports seeing a dark-skinned man helping the vagrant before vanishing. Vittoria tries CPR but sees blood spurting from the cardinal's chest, indicating shredded lungs. Lamas is dead. As they cover the body, Langdon sees Macri filming nearby. They realize the scene has been recorded and will soon go public. The assassin has fulfilled his promise with chilling precision, the horror now immortalized on camera for the entire world. Chapter 76. Macri flees with the murder tape, aware she's captured a one-of-a-kind scene. She darts across St. Peter's Square, feeling pursued. She tapes the cassette to her back and switches the camera's cartridge to mislead them. Just as she nears the BBC van, 2 men intercept her, demanding the tape. She refuses, citing her rights as a journalist. One shows a gun, but Macri holds firm. At that moment, Glick appears and discreetly snatches the tape, disappearing into the crowd. Macri says nothing, trusting he'll protect the footage. As Swiss guards escort her away, she prays they won't search her. She's managed to outwit her pursuers and safeguard evidence of a crime that may become the most explosive report of the century. Chapter 77. Spattered with blood, Langdon retreats into the Pope's opulent bathroom to regroup. He feels exhausted, hungry, and disoriented after witnessing Cardinal Lamas's death. As he cleans up, he reflects on the 2 ambigrams seen so far, dreading the remaining 2. Outside, Olivetti, Rocher, and the Camerlengo debate their next move, still unable to locate the antimatter. Langdon feels trapped between the symbolic weight of the path of illumination and the urgency to stop the killings. Amid his fatigue, flushing the toilet makes him chuckle. He just used the Pope's toilet. The scene blends tension with brief comic relief, revealing Langdon's emotional contradictions. Everything still hinges on him deciphering the clues in time, even as he feels increasingly overwhelmed. Chapter 78. At the BBC headquarters in London, a technician bursts in with tape footage of a cardinal's murder. The newsroom erupts. The editor halts all other activity and prepares for global broadcast in 5 minutes. The murder at St. Peter's will be an exclusive. They sell broadcast rights for $1 million per network, knowing they've struck TV gold. Meanwhile, the assassin lounges in a secret church he considers the Illuminati's lair. He calls Glick, his contact, ready to reveal an even bigger story. This chapter highlights the media's manipulation of tragedy, the profit-driven frenzy of the networks, and the killer's cold satisfaction as he watches chaos unfold. The conspiracy hits its peak, and the world is about to discover something even more terrifying. Chapter 79. In the papal office, Vittoria and Langdon try to regroup while snacking. Olivetti informs the Camerlengo of Ebner and Lamasse's deaths, plunging the priest into despair. Rocher claims they'll soon locate the antimatter, focusing on Vatican public areas. Langdon receives a map showing the breath line from West Ponente crossing 20 churches, but none appear linked to Bernini's fire sculptures. Vittoria suggests finding a list of Bernini's works referencing that element. Though skeptical such a list exists, Langdon agrees to try. Olivetti, convinced, sends them to a special Vatican archive of papal-commissioned works. As Langdon leaves with a guard to investigate, Olivetti stops Vittoria for a private word. Before he speaks, an urgent message interrupts. They must turn on the television. Something terrible has just happened. Chapter 80. Langdon returns to the Vatican secret archives, this time with the scar-faced guard. The soldier leads him to the room storing all papally commissioned art, including Bernini's works. Pressed for time, Langdon searches through a long list for a clue to the third altar. Fire. The guard, bound by protocol, leaves Langdon alone with a walkie-talkie. Aware that only minutes remain, Langdon must quickly identify which church along the Ponente line contains a fire-themed sculpture. The scene underscores the urgency of the search and Langdon's growing isolation. Now, only his knowledge and speed can stop the next murder. Tension mounts as everything hinges on a clue buried among thousands of documents. The clock ticks on, and the next crime draws near. Chapter 81. In the papal office, everyone watches in horror as TV networks broadcast leaked footage of the recent cardinal murders. Reporter Kelly Horan-Jones reports from the Vatican, showing disturbing images of marked bodies and implicating the Swiss guard. Vittoria and Langdon appear on screen trying to save a cardinal, revealing that the cameras weren't confiscated as believed. Chaos intensifies when the Illuminati claim responsibility for the murders and the Pope's death, saying he was poisoned with heparin. This detail alarms the Camerlengo, as no one else knew about the medication. Tension mounts as every channel repeats the same story. The Vatican is held hostage by an ancient sect. The Camerlengo refuses to lie to the world. With resolve, he orders Glick found and the assassin caught before 10 p.m., ready to make drastic decisions. Chapter 82. At CERN, Sylvie Baudeloque waits impatiently for Kohler's return, feeling tired and hungry. Passing the break rooms, she sees employees watching news of the Illuminati murders. Despite the grim reports, some young technicians react with sarcasm and excitement, showing no respect for the church. Deeply upsetting to Sylvie, a devout Catholic, she wonders why so many hate an institution that, to her, provides comfort, spiritual guidance, and community. Further down the halls, she sees older scientists watching solemnly. Meanwhile, Kohler, alone in Vetra's apartment, finishes reading his journal and watches the news. He leaves silently. Back in the Vatican, Cardinal Mortati, still in the conclave, burns the second round of ballots. Black smoke rises, signaling to the world that there is still no new pope. Chapter 83. In the dark of St. Peter's Basilica, Vittoria walks with Camerlengo Ventresca and several Swiss guards toward the underground crypts, hoping to find evidence the pope was murdered. The eerie silence adds to her dread, as she wonders if she's about to witness the first papal autopsy. Upon reaching the subterranean sanctuary, the Camerlengo clarifies that a lit coffer contains ceremonial sashes, not St. Peter's remains. Continuing in the shadows, he opens up to Vittoria, sharing his military past and the early loss of his parents, revealing a deep bond with the late pope, his mentor. They finally stop before stairs descending even lower. The Camerlengo asks Vittoria to join him, saying they're about to see an old friend, hinting at a devastating truth about to be unearthed. Chapter 84. Langdon enters a smaller chamber in the Vatican archives, searching Bernini's ledgers for a sculpture tied to the fire element. Exhausted and with limited air, he combs through several entries until he finds the Ecstasy of Saint Teresa, a sexually and spiritually charged statue where an angel pierces the saint with a fiery spear. The sculpture had been exiled from the Vatican to Santa Maria della Vittoria. This intrigues Langdon, who suspects Bernini deliberately hid a clue there. As he reads more, he's certain he's found the third altar. But his triumph fades as the lights cut out, trapping him in total darkness. Someone has shut off the power, leaving him sealed in an airtight room with no easy escape. Chapter 85. Vittoria, the Camerlengo, and Swiss guards descend to the Vatican grottos, a cold, silent crypt housing the Pope's tombs. The Camerlengo leads with confidence, mourning the loss of his mentor buried below. Before the late Pope's tomb, he prays with moving sincerity. Despite the taboo, he orders the guards to lift the sarcophagus lid, appealing to their duty and faith. After great effort, they uncover the Pope's face. Vittoria steps closer, dreading what she must confirm. She doesn't need to touch him. The blackened tongue visible in his open mouth reveals internal bleeding, clear proof of heparin poisoning. The confirmation of murder hits everyone with immense weight. Chapter 86. Trapped in pitch black within the Vatican secret archives, Langdon struggles to remain calm as oxygen dwindles. With no electricity and the revolving door locked, he must improvise. Using swimming techniques to control his breathing, he crafts a risky plan, toppling the bookshelves like dominoes so the last crashes into the glass wall. Climbing with difficulty, he sets the plan in motion. The final shelf slams into the glass, and after a tense moment, it shatters, letting in fresh air. Barely conscious, Langdon grabs the walkie-talkie and uses an alternate channel to demand a connection with the Camerlengo. Gasping, he claims to know the next murder site, only to be interrupted by Olivetti, ordering him to stay silent. Chapter 87. Langdon, injured but alive, emerges from the archives and is met by Vittoria, the Camerlengo, and Olivetti. Rocher admits he cut the power, unaware Langdon was inside. Tension spikes when Langdon announces he's found the next murder location, but Olivetti insists on speaking privately. He reveals there's a traitor inside the Vatican, so trust is scarce. The Camerlengo agrees to pause the conclave, a move Olivetti sees as premature. Still, he allows 20 minutes for Langdon to find and stop the killer. The Camerlengo orders that Glick and his camerawoman be brought to the Sistine Chapel, hinting he'll make a public statement. Meanwhile, Langdon, Vittoria, and Olivetti rush by Alfa Romeo towards Santa Maria della Vittoria, convinced the third Illuminati murder will happen there. Chapter 88. With sirens blaring, Olivetti's Alfa Romeo races through Rome towards Santa Maria della Vittoria. Traffic heads the opposite way, drawn to the Vatican scandal. Langdon struggles to focus after his ordeal, haunted by the Pope's murder. Vittoria receives a call from Kohler, who hints Leonardo Vetra may have revealed information about the antimatter, shaking her trust. As Olivetti plans a stealth entry into the church, Langdon recalls that Piazza Barberini once held an obelisk during Bernini's era, reinforcing the site as an altar of science. They split up. Olivetti enters from the rear, while Langdon and Vittoria watch the front. With 9 minutes left until the potential murder, tension escalates. Meanwhile, the killer speaks with his master, Janus, who orders him to eliminate anyone interfering, including Langdon and Vittoria. Chapter 89. At St. Peter's Square, a growing crowd and journalists cluster around giant screens broadcasting the Vatican's shocking events. Inside the basilica, Chartrand and other guards continue searching with detectors. In the Palio's niche, where 99 oil lamps burn, Chartrand grows uneasy upon hearing the oil is highly flammable. The search yields nothing. Suddenly, a radio call reports the Camerlengo has made an unprecedented move. He's headed directly to the conclave to speak to the cardinals. Known for his piety and determination, Ventresca earns Chartrand's trust. He recalls the Camerlengo once explained human suffering as a father letting his child learn through pain, a divine lesson. Chartrand now understands. To Ventresca, pain is proof of God's love, a message only a devout believer can convey. Chapter 90. From a dark street, Langdon and Vittoria observe Piazza Barberini. Santa Maria della Vittoria looms in shadow, with the eerie Bernini Hotel neon sign glowing above it. Seeing two veiled figures approach the church, Vittoria, thinking they might be the killer and a victim, arms herself and approaches. Langdon follows nervously. As she greets the figures politely, they realize it's just two elderly women just expelled from the church by a threatening man, who even forced out the priest. As the women leave, Langdon spots a flickering light inside the church. Fire. Vittoria immediately calls Olivetti. The chapter ends with the looming threat of another murder, as the assassin's shadow falls over Santa Maria della Vittoria. Chapter 91. Langdon and Vittoria burst into Santa Maria della Vittoria Church and are met with a horrifying scene. A large pyre blazes beneath the dome, and above it, Cardinal Guidera hangs by cables, still alive, with a burning symbol seared into his chest. Langdon tries desperately to save him, but the fire's heat forces him back. Meanwhile, Vittoria discovers Olivetti's corpse with his neck grotesquely twisted and is ambushed by the assassin, who knocks her unconscious. Langdon searches for a way to free the cardinal but is interrupted by the assassin, armed with Vittoria's gun. Langdon flees through the pews until he finds a niche with a sarcophagus and hides inside. In a brutal struggle, he manages to crush the assassin's arm with the tomb lid, saving his own life. Trapped in darkness, Langdon fears for Vittoria. Chapter 92. During the third round of voting in the Sistine Chapel, the cardinals are stunned when the Camerlengo enters unannounced, breaking conclave protocol. Mortati is shocked to see him cross the sacred threshold. The Camerlengo, grave-faced, walks to the altar and addresses the cardinals, saying he has waited as long as possible and has urgent news to share. His appearance signals an unprecedented shift in the conclave. Though the preferred candidates were expected to arrive, the cardinals instead find the Camerlengo ready to unveil a troubling truth. Mortati senses extreme tension, realizing they face a critical situation. The Camerlengo is about to expose a conspiracy threatening to destroy the church from within. The conclave doors, which open only under strict conditions, have been breached by an unparalleled emergency. Chapter 93. Injured and disoriented, Langdon crawls under the church pews as flames grow and the assassin fires at him. He crosses the nave, dodging bullets, and takes refuge in a niche with a sarcophagus. There he hides while the assassin closes in. The killer pushes the gun under the tomb lid, aiming at Langdon's stomach, but with a surge of adrenaline, Langdon arches away from the shots. The tomb wobbles, opens, and a decayed corpse topples onto Langdon, covering him in dust and bones. When the assassin grabs him through the opening, Langdon slips free and kicks with both legs, causing the lid to slide and crush the attacker's arm. The pain forces the assassin to release him, and the tomb crashes to the floor, followed by complete silence. Covered in remains, Langdon fights panic as he thinks of Vittoria. Chapter 94. In a dramatic intervention inside the Sistine Chapel, the Camerlengo reveals the Illuminati conspiracy to the College of Cardinals and the world. He describes the Pope's death, the kidnapping and murder of the cardinals, and the antimatter threat. Broadcast by the BBC, his message is a blend of despair and faith. With passionate words, he decries science's dominance over spirituality and mourns the existential void it has left. He avoids religious rhetoric, appealing instead to morality and common sense. He declares science has won, but only in creating confusion, not answers. His sorrowful, fervent speech captivates both cardinals and global viewers. Mortati sees this as a final plea to save the church. When the Camerlengo kneels to pray, the world joins in a moment of unprecedented unity. Chapter 95. Believing Langdon dead, the assassin brings unconscious Vittoria to a grand building near the Tiber, the legendary Church of Illumination, ancient Illuminati headquarters. He ties her to a divan, eager to indulge himself once his mission is done. Suppressing his impulses, he descends to a dungeon where metal branding irons and Cardinal Baggia await. Before acting, he heats a symbol mold with a torch. The cardinal, standing tall in his cell, prays for the assassin's soul without fear. Meanwhile, at CERN, Sylvie watches in awe as the Camerlengo's speech shakes the world. Calls flood in from companies curious about antimatter. In Rome, The Camerlengo shares photos and videos with the press as proof of the horrors endured. Declaring the Illuminati have gone too far, he vows to reveal the full truth before catastrophe strikes. Chapter 96. Trapped beneath the tomb in the church, Langdon battles panic and claustrophobia. Covered in bones and dust, he tries to lift the lid without success. He recalls the Greek origin of the word sarcophagus, flesh-eater, and uses a bone fragment as a wedge. After several tries, he slips it under the edge and creates a narrow air gap. Exhausted and near fainting, he activates his Mickey Mouse watch alarm, hoping someone will hear. As consciousness fades, he relives a childhood trauma, falling into a dark, abandoned well and being trapped for hours. The cold water, darkness, and wait for rescue are etched in his memory. Remembering how he survived then, Langdon clings to hope that he'll survive this night too. Chapter 97. The assassin lays Vittoria on a divan in the Church of Illumination. Though deeply attracted to her, he delays his gratification until his job is complete. From a balcony, he gazes at the glowing dome of St. Peter's and murmurs vengeance for the Muslim lives lost in the Crusades. He returns inside, deepens Vittoria's unconsciousness with a precise nerve hold, and descends to a hidden dungeon filled with torches and metal molds. He prepares the final burning symbol and approaches Cardinal Baggia. The cardinal, unafraid, prays for the assassin. The atmosphere is ceremonial and tense, filled with the assassin's restrained violence and fanatical devotion. Meanwhile, time is running out and danger in the Vatican intensifies as the assassin revels in his role as an instrument of destruction. Chapter 98. Firefighters extinguish the blaze in Santa Maria della Vittoria with halon gas to preserve the frescoes. Though used to horror, they are shaken by what they find. Cardinal Guidera, charred and hanging, marked with a fiery symbol, and Commander Olivetti's body, showing signs of an execution-style death. Inspecting the church, they find bullet holes in a niche and an overturned tomb. Hearing an electronic beep from the sarcophagus, they fear a bomb and evacuate. But bomb technicians discover Langdon alive inside. Back at the Vatican, the Camerlengo returns to the Pope's office and instructs Rocher to evacuate the cardinals if the threat continues. Soon after, a mysterious call offers critical information. At CERN, Kohler requests his jet. As the antimatter threat looms over Rome, the pieces begin shifting in a crisis of apocalyptic scale. Chapter 99. Exhausted and shaken, the Camerlengo returns with Rocher from the Sistine Chapel to the Pope's office. There, he instructs him to evacuate the cardinals at 11:15 if the antimatter remains unfound, insisting they must do so with dignity before the crowd gathered in St. Peter's Square. He then locks himself inside, praying before the lit fireplace and the statue of the Virgin Mary, entrusting the church's fate to God. Meanwhile, Rocher receives a mysterious call on a private Vatican line. The unknown caller claims to have crucial information and demands to speak only with the highest-ranking officer. When Rocher answers, he is stunned to discover who is giving the orders. At the same time, in CERN, Sylvie Baudeloque answers the director's private line. Kohler's voice orders her to prepare his jet to depart for Rome immediately. Chapter 100. Langdon awakens in smoke and confusion beneath the church dome. Thanks to his Mickey Mouse alarm, firefighters rescue him just in time. Still in pain, he learns Vittoria is missing and is gripped by desperation to find her. He senses the assassin's mission isn't over and that the final altar involves the element of water. Examining Bernini's statue, The Ecstasy of Saint Teresa, he follows the direction of the angel's spear, pointing west. Using a detailed Rome map, he traces the murder sites and uncovers a symbolic figure, a cross formed by the 4 elemental altars. At its center lies Bernini's Fountain of the 4 Rivers in Piazza Navona, a perfect tribute to water. In a desperate act, Langdon steals a car and races to his final destination, hoping to save Vittoria before it's too late. Chapter 101. Gunther Glick was euphoric inside the Swiss Guard compound, convinced he had achieved journalistic glory. Beside him, Chinita Macri watched with a mix of disbelief and annoyance as Glick arrogantly repeated that he had scored another global exclusive. They had broadcast live footage of the murdered cardinals, the Pope's corpse, and the antimatter canister, all authorized by the Camerlengo. But their later boldness, including insinuations about the Illuminati and a supposed CERN connection to secret societies, got them locked in a room by the guards. Glick kept going, crafting theories linking former President Bush, CERN, and the institution's logo with satanic symbolism. To him, the logo hid the number 666, the mark of the beast. As Macri accused him of defamation, he saw only jealousy in her criticism. He believed he had uncovered the modern origins of the Illuminati and dreamed of revealing the whereabouts of their legendary diamond. Chapter 102. Robert Langdon waited hidden in the deserted Piazza Navona, mesmerized by Bernini's Fountain of the Four Rivers, where misty light enveloped pagan figures and an obelisk topped by what looked like a lone dove. He knew this site marked the fourth altar, and that one final stage remained, the Church of Illumination. As he pondered the symbolic layout of the obelisks, a black van appeared without headlights and stopped beside the fountain. From his hiding place, Langdon watched in horror as the assassin, concealed in the van's shadows, prepared to throw a chained cardinal into the fountain. Determined to act, Langdon removed his jacket and the precious diagramma and dove into the icy water, swimming quietly to the fountain's core. There, hidden behind a statue, he aimed his pistol and ordered the assassin to stop. The assassin, unfazed, smiled defiantly, ready to confront him. Chapter 103. Langdon launched himself into a deadly struggle with the assassin in the water. The assassin, anchored to the bottom, used brute strength to drown him. Langdon momentarily broke free and surfaced, only to be pulled under again. Meanwhile, the chained and dying Cardinal Baggia experienced mystical visions, convinced his soul was ascending. Langdon, gasping for air, discovered a bubbling hose on the fountain floor and used it to fake his death. The assassin, believing him drowned, emerged wounded and left to claim his reward with Vittoria. Elsewhere in the fortress, she awoke bound and aching in an old council room overlooking the Vatican. A cold breeze gave her the sense she was high above the ground, unaware that Langdon was still fighting to find her and stop the assassin. Chapter 104. Submerged in the fountain, Langdon held his breath with the hose in his mouth, deceiving the assassin, who believed him dead. Once the assassin left, Langdon surfaced among the statues, confirming the van was gone. He swam to Cardinal Baggia, lying lifeless under the water. The chains were too heavy to lift him out. With great effort, Langdon pulled the body onto a marble ledge and attempted resuscitation for several minutes, but the cardinal remained unresponsive. The Preferiti was dead. Despite the sorrow, Langdon felt a renewed drive. He wiped the cardinal's face, closed his eyes, and cried for the first time in years. The fountain whispered regrets as its waters gently rippled over the corpse. Robert knew time was running out and that he still had to find the hidden lair where Vittoria remained captive. Chapter 105. Desperate but resolute, Langdon examined Bernini's fountain for the Illuminati's final clue. He scoured figures, symbols, even hieroglyphs, but no angel guided the way. Then he noticed a metal dove atop the obelisk. Tossing coins, he confirmed it was a sculpture, not a real bird. The revelation stunned him. The dove, symbol of the angel of peace, was hidden among pagan figures. He climbed the obelisk's base and from there, surveyed Rome. Following the dove's direction, he identified a massive building across the Tiber, Castel Sant'Angelo. Its circular form, flanked by a pentagonal park, fit Illuminati symbolism perfectly. Atop the castle, a bronze angel pointed to its center, and the entry bridge bore Bernini statues. Langdon didn't hesitate. He had found the Church of Illumination. Chapter 106. Robert Langdon raced to Castel Sant'Angelo, the castle indicated by the dove. Upon arrival, he found the bridge closed to traffic. He abandoned his wrecked car and crossed on foot, flanked by angel statues. The doors were shut, but faint light from the upper balcony suggested someone, possibly Vittoria, was inside. Frantic, Langdon searched for another entrance. Nearby, he spotted a TV truck whose Australian operator offered help in exchange for an exclusive. Using the antenna's telescoping arm, Langdon scaled the castle wall. Inside, he ran through bastions until he found an entrance. Meanwhile, the assassin prepared to violate Vittoria in a torchlit room. Tied and wounded, she watched the Vatican from a balcony. To her shock, a helicopter landed, and descending from it was CERN director Maximilian Kohler. Chapter 107. Langdon descended a spiral tunnel in the castle, desperately searching for where Vittoria might be held. He found the black van in a chamber along with Vittoria's broken phone, confirming his fears. Following a blood trail, he reached an abandoned prison that had held the murdered cardinals. He also discovered the sealed entrance to the Passetto, the secret passage to the Vatican. But the assassin's trail led elsewhere, to a chain door and an upward spiral staircase. Armed with a heavy rod, Langdon climbed, guided by hidden symbols and pentagonal stones. He felt chased by history, sure he was ascending into the Church of Illumination. Meanwhile, atop the castle, the assassin threatened Vittoria with a knife. Just as he moved to assault her, the door burst open with a shout, "Get away from her!" Chapter 108. Langdon stormed into the Illuminati's sacred chamber, confronting the assassin with only an iron bar. Seeing Vittoria alive but still tied, he felt a surge of relief. The assassin toyed with him, dodging attacks and tiring him out around the oval room. Langdon tried negotiating for the antimatter's location, but the assassin mocked him. At the room's center, Langdon discovered a copper chest containing 5 branding irons. Illuminati, Earth, Air, Fire, Water, and a blank for a 6th mark. Distracted, Langdon was tackled and thrown toward the balcony. As he teetered over the edge, Vittoria, who had freed herself using yoga techniques, intervened with a burning torch. In a fierce struggle, they cornered the assassin. Vittoria burned his face with the torch, and together they pushed him over the edge. He fell onto cannonballs below, dying instantly. Chapter 109. In St. Peter's Square, the crowd watched giant screens showing the antimatter countdown. Guards failed to control the masses. The world awaited either a blast or a miracle. Inside the Vatican, Cardinal Mortati and others demanded to leave the Sistine Chapel, but Rocher, influenced by a mysterious call, insisted they stay. The Camerlengo, deep in prayer, begged God for a miracle. Langdon and Vittoria, having defeated the assassin, watched the packed square from the castle balcony. Suddenly, they saw a papal helicopter land. Vittoria recognized Rocher greeting a stranger, Maximilian Kohler, CERN's director, in a wheelchair. Langdon realized with horror it all fit. Kohler was the long-awaited Good Samaritan. The pieces clicked into place. Kohler was Janus, the Illuminati leader, about to execute his final move. Chapter 110. At 11:23, from the castle balcony, Vittoria trembled with emotion. The assassin was dead, and she was alive thanks to Langdon. At his touch, she broke into tears, but the moment passed quickly. They looked down in horror as the papal helicopter landed in St. Peter's Square, greeted by Rocher. Aboard was Maximilian Kohler, moving swiftly despite his wheelchair. Langdon and Vittoria realized it was too late. The supposed savior bringing information about the antimatter was actually the Illuminati leader. The Vatican would open its doors to him, believing he held the solution, unaware that he was the threat. Alarmed, Langdon resolved to return and warn them, though the crowds blocked access. Despite the danger, he was determined to reach them. Unbeknownst to all, an unexpected twist was already unfolding that would test their faith to the limit. Chapter 111. Maximilian Kohler, ill and filled with rage stemming from his childhood, entered the papal office with deadly determination. As Rocher escorted him through the Vatican, he was disgusted by the opulence around him, recalling how a childhood disease had left him crippled due to his parents' blind faith. Those memories fueled him, convinced it was science, not God, that had saved his life. After a brief confrontation with the Swiss guard, Kohler gained access to the papal antechamber. Seeing his reflection in a mirror, he felt a renewed fury over his physical and emotional suffering. In his wheelchair, he hid a pistol and another crucial item. Upon entering the office, he found the Camerlengo kneeling. Without opening his eyes, The priest asked whether he had come to kill him. Kohler, silent, was ready to confront him and complete a mission he knew he wouldn't survive. Chapter 112. Langdon and Vittoria ran through Il Passetto, the tunnel linking Castel Sant'Angelo and the Vatican. Surrounded by shadows and damp, they anxiously reviewed recent revelations. Langdon questioned whether Kohler was truly Janus, the Illuminati leader. Vittoria dismissed the idea, insisting Max would never endanger CERN's reputation. But Langdon began to see how everything, including his own role, had been orchestrated to legitimize the threat. Nearing the tunnel's end, they found open doors suggesting recent use. Yet a locked iron gate blocked their way. Their torch dimmed, panic set in, and Langdon pounded the gate in vain. They were trapped with only minutes left until midnight and the antimatter's detonation. Chapter 113. In the Vatican, Lieutenant Chartrand sensed something was very wrong. Rocher's behavior and recent decisions defied logic. The private meeting between Kohler and the Camerlengo had been approved without witnesses, raising Chartrand's suspicion. Then a metallic sound caught his attention, muted banging from a locked door. Investigating, he found it came from the Pope's private library. He broke the seal and, flashlight in hand, uncovered a heavy iron door labeled Il Passetto. Hearing cries from the other side, he realized Langdon and Vittoria were alive. He unlatched the door, and they emerged, staggering. When Langdon learned Kohler was meeting the Camerlengo, he ran frantically through the halls. Outside the papal office, Rocher held a gun. Langdon shouted that the Camerlengo was in danger. At that moment, a piercing scream erupted from within. Chapter 114. Inside the papal office, chaos reigned. Kohler stood, aiming a gun at the Camerlengo, who lay on the ground, his chest seared by a red-hot brand. Before Langdon and Vittoria could intervene, the guards shot Kohler, who collapsed bleeding in his chair. With a cry of Illuminatus, the Camerlengo pointed to Rocher, accusing him of treason. Chartrand reacted instantly, shooting Rocher 3 times. As guards attended to the wounded priest, Langdon noticed the branding iron, its symmetrical design baffling him. Kohler, still alive, whispered for Langdon to deliver a video camera to the media. Suspicious, Langdon hid it in his jacket. The Camerlengo ordered the evacuation of the cardinals and demanded a helicopter. Tension mounted. No one yet understood the magnitude of what was unfolding, but the night's climax was fast approaching. Chapter 115. In St. Peter's Square, chaos engulfed the crowd. The helicopter pilot awaited instructions as panic spread. Signs denounced science as God's enemy, and rumors of antimatter swept like wildfire. Inside the basilica, Langdon, Vittoria, and 2 guards carried the wounded Camerlengo on a makeshift stretcher toward the exit. Meanwhile, cardinals were finally evacuated. BBC reporters spotted movement and rushed to the Vatican steps, cameras rolling. Floodlights blinded the group as they emerged. When they tried lowering the stretcher, the Camerlengo suddenly rose and staggered toward the center of the square. Ranting, he tore off his cassock, revealing the mark burned into his chest. Cameras captured everything. The image broadcast worldwide stunned Langdon. It wasn't just a mark, it was the fabled diamond of the Illuminati. Chapter 116. The revelation of the Illuminati diamond caused a global uproar. The Camerlengo, on the brink of delirium, cried to the heavens, claiming he had received a message from God. Langdon and Vittoria watched in horror as he quoted scripture before a paralyzed crowd. The scene aired live on every network. Suddenly, in a fit of divine fervor, the Camerlengo ran into the basilica. Instinctively, Langdon followed, lit by Macri's camera as she broadcast the chase. The Camerlengo ran down the central nave, lit eerily from below. He reached the necropolis and opened a floor grate. Langdon caught up and tried to stop him, but the priest calmly claimed God had revealed the antimatter's location. Upon this rock I will build my church, Pietro e la Pietra. The antimatter was hidden in St. Peter's tomb. Chapter 117. The Camerlengo dashed down into the Vatican necropolis, followed by Langdon, Vittoria, Chartrand, and the BBC team. In the sacred underground city, The priest moved with divine purpose, proclaiming God had shown him the truth. As they descended, Langdon recalled the symbolism of the rock, realizing it referred to St. Peter's tomb, Christianity's symbolic heart. The Illuminati had placed the antimatter there. The message had been clear and deeply ironic. At the crypt, the Camerlengo knelt before the simple terracotta sarcophagus. Atop it sat the antimatter canister, glowing under the security camera. Minutes remained until detonation, yet the priest didn't hesitate. Rising, he seized the cylinder with trembling hands and, ignoring all protests, ran toward the exit. The world watched, awaiting either a miracle or a catastrophe. Chapter 118. The BBC camera captured every raw moment. The Camerlengo, drenched in sweat, emerged from the necropolis with the antimatter canister in his hands. He raced through ancient corridors, followed by a terrified entourage. Langdon tried to intercept him but was stopped by Chartrand, who trusted the priest. Vittoria shouted warnings. The surface explosion would be deadly. But the Camerlengo's eyes shone with eerie calm. Reaching the exit, he crossed the basilica and stepped into the square, where tens of thousands awaited. Before the world's cameras, he boarded a Swiss Guard helicopter, which ascended rapidly into the night. Horrified, Langdon realized the truth. The Camerlengo intended to fly high above the city and sacrifice himself to save everyone. The ultimate act of faith and redemption or madness had begun. Chapter 119. Aboard the helicopter, the Camerlengo ascended with the antimatter canister, while tens of thousands below stared upward in disbelief. Langdon, lost in the crowd and dread, watched the sky. Only minutes remained. The pilot had set the helicopter on autopilot, and the Camerlengo, with steady hands, prepared for his fate. On the ground, tension was unbearable. Some prayed, others wept. All eyes were skyward. Suddenly, a blinding light tore through the night. The helicopter became a star that rose, then vanished in a silent flash. Seconds later, a shockwave rippled across Rome. Windows shook, but the city remained intact. The sky burned, yet Rome was saved. The Camerlengo had given his life. His sacrifice, broadcast live, made him a martyr. For a fleeting moment, the world believed it had witnessed a true miracle. Chapter 120. In the Vatican, silence followed the luminous explosion. Langdon, Vittoria, Chartrand, and the cardinals stared at the starry sky, unable to grasp how the city had been spared. The antimatter, placed on St. Peter's tomb, had been removed just in time by the Camerlengo, who vanished in a burst of celestial fire. On television, networks replayed the sacrifice endlessly. The faithful knelt, convinced they had seen divine intervention. In the square, Cardinal Mortati, deeply moved, declared they had witnessed God's hand. Yet Langdon, still processing everything, knew the truth was more complex. As he gazed at the stars, his thoughts returned to when he saw Kohler secretly hand him a camera with a message. The night's true miracle wasn't only in the sky, but hidden in the truth still waiting to be revealed. Chapter 121. At 11:56 p.m., Camerlengo Carlo Ventresca staggered out of St. Peter's Basilica, carrying the antimatter as though it were a sacred offering. The crowd in the square watched, shaken by the mixture of fear and admiration evoked by his half-naked figure, marked with the symbol of the Illuminati. Langdon and Vittoria tried to stop him, but Chartrand intervened. As the Camerlengo ran toward a helicopter prepared for him, Langdon realized his intent: to flee with the antimatter and save the Vatican. The priest ordered the guards to step back and took control of the aircraft, while Langdon, holding the canister, followed him. Eventually, both lifted off in the helicopter, leaving Vittoria behind. In the air, Langdon pleaded for the canister to be dropped in an unpopulated area, but the Camerlengo, resolute, kept climbing higher, suggesting that sacrifice was the only path to salvation. Time was running out. 3 minutes remained. Chapter 122. Inside the helicopter, Langdon gripped the antimatter canister as the rotor's hum surrounded them. The priest descended vertically, ignoring Langdon's plea to head toward the Cava Romana, an uninhabited zone. Instead, the Camerlengo climbed above the Vatican, making it clear he had no intention of throwing the canister. He intended to immolate himself with it. Horrified, Langdon finally understood it was all an act of faith and martyrdom. The priest wished to rise high enough to minimize the damage. When Langdon suggested an alternative, the Camerlengo resigned, explained there was no safer way. All that remained was to go higher. Any hope of survival faded. It was a sacrifice destined to become a symbol, and deep inside, Langdon knew the priest's fate was sealed. It was a silent farewell, directed to the heavens and to God. Chapter 123. Vittoria watched from the square as the helicopter disappeared into the night sky, reduced to a distant point, almost invisible. The crowd, of all faiths and origins, looked upward in reverent silence as St. Peter's bells began to toll. The moment was apocalyptic. Then, it happened. A white, pure point of light appeared and suddenly exploded into a massive incandescent sphere. It was as if a new celestial body had been born above Rome. The light devoured the night, illuminating everything with blinding intensity. The shockwave descended, shaking the ground, sending people screaming and ducking for cover. Yet something unexpected occurred. The energy seemed to bounce back, as if contained by an invisible sphere. The light imploded upon itself, leaving the city in shadow. Rome had witnessed a miracle, or the apocalypse. For an instant, the sky had spoken. Chapter 124. After the explosion, an absolute silence blanketed the square. Thousands bowed their heads in respect, as if the entire world mourned and worshipped together. The cardinals knelt, the Swiss guards were struck mute, and Vittoria wept. Amid the shock, Cardinal Mortati reflected on the nature of miracles. Though he had always viewed them as metaphors or legends, what had happened that night defied reason. Inside, something shifted. Suddenly, cries broke the silence. All eyes turned to the basilica's roof. There, beside the statue of Christ, the Camerlengo Ventresca appeared alive, arms extended to the world. Some fell to their knees, others wept. It was an indescribable, nearly divine moment. For many, this was proof of direct celestial intervention. Mortati, overwhelmed, felt his faith strengthen, unaware that many truths had yet to be revealed. The miracle had only just begun. Chapter 125. Robert Langdon relived in dreams the terrifying helicopter experience. As they ascended, he realized they would die if nothing was done. Seeing the Camerlengo strap on a parachute, Langdon understood the plan. The priest would jump, leaving the antimatter to explode in the sky. When the priest jumped, Langdon made a desperate choice. Without a parachute, he leaped with only the windshield cover as a shield. As he plummeted, the heat from the explosion scorched him. The fabric burned, but held. Battling the wind, he aimed for a dark stretch in Rome, the Tiber River. He pulled with all his strength and finally crashed into the raging water. He survived by a miracle. His body was dragged ashore and taken to Tiberina Hospital, where doctors and nurses, incredulous, identified him. Against all odds, Langdon was alive. Rome had seen a man fall from the sky. Chapter 126. Cardinal Mortati gazed in awe at the Camerlengo standing atop the basilica, dazzled by his presence. The vision seemed celestial, impossible. Though everyone knew he had boarded the helicopter, there he stood, unscathed and serene. The crowd chanted his name. Some nuns knelt, weeping and praising him as a divine messenger. Amid the confusion, Ventresca himself felt transformed, light as a spirit. He wasn't sure whether his body or soul had returned. He recalled landing in the Vatican gardens with his improvised parachute and climbing the old medallion staircase to the basilica's summit. From there, he beheld the people, convinced his mission was fulfilled. He thanked God for allowing him to deliver his message. Then, humbly, he knelt and prayed, believing himself to have been a divine instrument. The miracle was complete in the eyes of the world. Chapter 127. Robert Langdon awoke in Tiberina Hospital, confused and in pain, surrounded by doctors who couldn't believe what they saw. Dr. Jacobus confirmed his identity and called his survival miraculous. As they examined him, Langdon recovered fragments of memory. Among his belongings, they found a mini-camera that wasn't his. Kohler had given it to him before dying. A nurse activated it and voices played. Langdon, still weak, listened closely. He recognized the voices. A secret recording between Kohler and the Camerlengo. Though the screen was broken, the audio revealed chilling truths. As the conversation unfolded, Langdon's face changed. He urgently requested clothes and demanded to go to the Vatican. He had something to show everyone, something that completely altered the perception of the supposed miracle. He left the hospital in a paramedic's jumpsuit and boarded an air ambulance helicopter. He had a single mission: reveal the truth. Chapter 128. The cardinals, electrified by recent events, wanted to vote the Camerlengo as pope, considering him God's chosen. Mortati, confused and concerned, tried to calm the fervor. He recalled conclave law. Ventresca was neither a cardinal nor of age. He asked that they wait to hear him first. Meanwhile, Langdon, newly landed at the Vatican, made his way unseen to the Sistine Chapel. Inside, the atmosphere was tense. Some demanded rules be broken due to the miracle's magnitude. Mortati, in a firm voice, advocated for prudence and reason, insisting God's will must be understood wisely, not hysterically. The cardinals fell silent under his authority. Meanwhile, Langdon approached with the mini-camera. The moment of truth drew near. The fates of the Vatican and the Camerlengo were about to change forever, as Kohler's footage came to light. One final puzzle piece was about to fall into place. Chapter 129. Langdon appeared in the Sistine Chapel, interrupting the vote. With Vittoria and 2 guards carrying a television, he played Kohler's secret recording for the cardinals. In it, the Camerlengo confessed to murdering Leonardo Vetra, deeming his antimatter creation a blasphemy. He justified the murder as an act for the church and against science. Then, in desperation, he branded himself with the Illuminati symbol to fake an attack. The tape also showed how he ordered Captain Rocher's death and falsely accused him. The cardinals were horrified. Langdon proved it had all been an elaborate deception, a manipulation to incite fear and cast the sacrifice as a miracle. The Camerlengo's image collapsed. Vittoria, tearfully, embraced Langdon, thankful for his return. Blind faith gave way to truth. The Vatican now had to decide how to face the scandal. Chapter 130. The Camerlengo, being escorted toward the Sistine Chapel, reflected on his mission. He felt like God's instrument, convinced he had rekindled humanity's faith through horror and hope. He remembered the night he'd been devastated to learn that the Pope had broken his vow of celibacy, believing his paternal figure had betrayed him. Amid the anguish, he believed God had spoken to him, giving him a mission: to restore the world's faith. He felt called to act like Jesus, combining sacrifice and miracle. However, upon entering the chapel and seeing the cardinals, he noticed something strange in their expressions. Not reverence, but bewilderment. His mind, dulled by morphine, tried to comprehend. When he saw Langdon alive at the altar, with the tape revealing his lies, everything crumbled. The power he once felt vanished. Ventresca realized his crusade had ended. The final judgment had begun. Chapter 131. Carlo Ventresca enters the Sistine Chapel with a firm stride, facing the piercing gaze of the cardinals. Vittoria and Langdon watch from the altar, beside the television revealing a harrowing truth. The Camerlengo decides to speak, driven by the belief that his actions were guided by God. He claims he revived the myth of the Illuminati to awaken fear, unite humanity, and restore lost faith. He defends the sacrifice of the Preferiti as serving a higher good and urges people to face darkness to rediscover the light. Vittoria confronts him with pain and anger, accusing him of her father's murder, while he justifies it as a battle between soulless science and faith. Mortati interrupts, horrified to realize the Preferiti died by the Camerlengo's command. Ventresca defends his cause, explaining he manipulated a killer as a divine instrument. The chants from the square resound as the tension builds. Chapter 132. Carlo Ventresca lies shattered atop St. Peter's tomb, consumed by cold and pain, tormented by the Pope's revelation. The confession that shattered his world echoed in his mind. The Holy Father had a son. Unable to process it, he fled, vomited, and took refuge in the necropolis, where madness engulfed him. He believed he heard God's voice, commanding him to act to save the church. He justified the Pope's murder as a divine test and convinced himself his mission was necessary. Darkness brought clarity. Instill fear to restore faith. In his delusion, he felt illuminated by divine justice and saw himself as chosen to liberate humanity from the sin of rationalism. He believed he had been touched by God and must become the new spiritual leader. His self-inflicted wounds were sacred signs. Alone among ruins, he embraced his destiny of redemption. Chapter 133. The Camerlengo makes a shocking revelation. The Pope had a son. The cardinals react in horror, but Mortati confirms the truth. He had been the devil's advocate and discovered the secret during the conclave investigation. The Pope had a child via artificial insemination, without breaking his vow of chastity. His love story with a young nun, Maria, resulted in the birth of Carlo Ventresca, who was raised unaware of the truth. Mortati reveals the Pope deeply loved his son and adopted him after Maria's death, but never dared reveal the truth. Upon discovering it, the Camerlengo was devastated, consumed by unimaginable anguish. Mortati tries to console him, but Carlo cannot accept that his world, built on faith and vows, was a lie. The revelation destroys him. He collapses to his knees, speechless, and lets out a wail that shatters the silence of the Sistine Chapel. Chapter 134. Carlo Ventresca silently leaves the Sistine Chapel, pretending he needs solitude. The guards let him pass. His mother's words and the weight of his actions echo in his mind. He recalls poisoning the Pope and manipulating the Preferiti to turn them into martyrs. His mission is clear: provoke horror to spark hope. He sees himself as the only one capable of saving the Church, scornful of the cardinals as obsolete figures. He heads to St. Peter's Basilica and then to the catacombs, following what he believes is a divine sign. In the niche of the Puglia, he watches his own shadow cast on the wall, an angel engulfed in flames. He decides this will be his end. As the cardinals search for him in vain, Carlo appears on the papal balcony, bathing the crowd in reverent silence. Then, wordlessly, he immolates himself with sacred oils, transforming his death into an eternal image of sacrifice. Chapter 135. Rome awakens under a storm. The crowds have dispersed, but churches worldwide are filled with the faithful seeking answers. In the Vatican's sacred grotto, Mortati secretly places the Camerlengo's ashes beside the Pope's body, acknowledging the fatherly love between them. Despite the scandal and tragedy, he seeks to preserve some dignity. Mortati is called to the conclave and, on his way, speaks with a cardinal who informs him he has been dismissed as great elector. Both accept the decision with humility. As they walk through the Borgia courtyard, they discuss the absence of remains on the balcony where the Camerlengo burned. Mortati suggests with a smile that perhaps the rain took them. Despite the pain, he retains some compassion for a man who believed he was acting on God's will. The church, broken but still standing, now faces a spiritual rebuilding after a night of miracles and betrayals. Chapter 136. White smoke rises from the Sistine Chapel, signaling the election of the new pope. Gunther Glick, in his final broadcast, announces that Cardinal Saverio Mortati has been unanimously elected, a historic first. Chinita Macri watches, relieved by the report's sobriety. Glick recounts the previous night's tragedies: the deaths of the Preferiti, Olivetti, Rocher, Vetra, and Kohler. He announces the CERN's suspension of antimatter research. Then, an unexpected guest appears: Dr. Vanek, an expert in Vatican law, who reveals a forgotten rule: election by adoration. He explains that when the cardinals unanimously chanted the Camerlengo's name, they elected him pope, even if only for 17 minutes. Vanek concludes that Carlo Ventresca briefly reigned and died as pontiff. The revelation stuns the world, adding yet another layer of mystery and miracle to a night no one will ever forget. Chapter 137. Robert Langdon wakes confused in a suite at the Hotel Bernini after a chaotic night. He vaguely recalls recent events, the explosion, the Camerlengo's death, and his miraculous rescue. When someone knocks, it's Lieutenant Chartrand delivering a letter from His Holiness Mortati. The message expresses gratitude and leaves it up to Langdon whether to reveal the truth. Along with the letter is a package, the Illuminati diamond, a sacred symbol now entrusted to him. Chartrand asks about what happened in the helicopter, but Langdon chooses to keep it a mystery, claiming he may never remember clearly. On the balcony, Vittoria awaits in a robe, radiant in the moonlight. They dine together, laugh, and tease with playful innuendo. Finally, Langdon, amid jokes about science and religion, surrenders to a long-awaited intimate moment with her at last, experiencing his long-postponed religious experience. That's the end of Angels and Demons, where science challenges faith and truth burns brighter than light. Langdon deciphers the final clue, reveals the hidden enemy, and proves that belief and reason can coexist. Thank you for joining this illustrated summary full of tension, art, and revelation. If you enjoyed it, subscribe, like, and share this journey with fellow readers. Tell me in the comments, would you risk your life to uncover divine truth or protect a human secret?